In fact, there's a letter written by the late Majesty King Hussein to his younger brother, His Royal Highness Prince El Hassan, January 25th, 1999. In that letter, he gives this interesting closing excerpt. And I quote King Hussein's words to his brother. I thank you, Your Royal Highness, my dear brother, and express my deepest appreciation to you for all the sincere efforts that you have exerted during the past 3 decades. This reflects what should ever be the case within our Hashemite family, and which should always be a pillar of the Hashemite family of love and affection and family, which embodies a feeling of responsibility and understanding towards new developments and circumstances of a new era, and regards these developments with a great deal of awareness and the ability to deal with them objectively and with selflessness. I am sure that you are receiving this decision of mine with self-content and with the spirit of a member of the one united Hashemite team. Jordan and the world at large will be your world, in which there are so many of issues in many fields that need your knowledge, expertise, and deep intellect. Now, why would he remove his brother from the throne in one breath, only to tell him in his next that the whole world will be his world? What are, by the way, these Hashemite responsibilities that he must be loyal to in the circumstances of a new era? During the days leading up to the actual attack and war upon Saddam Hussein's rule of Iraq, many months of discussion, planning, and formulation occurred behind the scenes between exiled Iraqi leaders and key nationalists from many nations. These very meetings were given coverage by the international press. As these meetings progressed around the world, now get in mind, this is before we went in to attack Iraq and remove Saddam. As these meetings progressed around the world from city to city, gathering to gathering, one man seemingly made invaluable input and leadership throughout this process. Let's notice only a few. I have dozens, but we'll look at a few. Here's one from the Daily Star. It's an article entitled, "Is it Prince Hassan's Moment?" And I quote, Can a Jordanian prince help Iraq along the path to democracy? Jordan's Prince Hassan, the brother of the late King Hussein, says he hopes to go to Baghdad soon to attend a conference aimed at easing tensions between Iraq's feuding Shiite and Sunni Muslim communities. What's he going to fix? The feuding Shiites and Sunnis. Hassan thinks he can play a unifying role. The prince said he has discussed his visit with members of some of Iraq's big tribes, and he says, I found that in these meetings I was able to be recognized as someone with a proven track record and not a newcomer to the scene. He's not a newcomer. They all worship his great 42 times grandfather. If we could have a figurehead acceptable to all these parties, that would be ideal, one British official said. Let's look at another one, shall we? This was from Michael Rubin, article entitled, If Iraqis Want a King, Hassan of Jordan could be their man. He said this, last weekend more than 70 exiled Iraqi military officials and Ahmed Chalabi, you've heard his name, haven't you? Ahmed Chalabi met in London to discuss the ousting of Saddam Hussein. Again, this is all prior to the war in Iraq. American diplomats, Pentagon officials, and members of the Vice President Dick Cheney staff joined British colleagues. The surprise participant was Jordan's Prince Hassan bin Talal. Crown Prince for more than 3 decades, Hassan frequently served as regent while his brother King Hussein traveled abroad. As Hussein was, Hassan is known for his moderation, his genuine desire for peace, his humor, and his learning. Should he be interested, Hassan's experience and lineage, and he goes on to define that, Hashemites claim direct from the Prophet Muhammad, Give him the unique ability to usher a post-Saddam Iraq back into the family of nations, with him chairing a future constitutional convention and overseeing the reconciliation process. With Saddam's days numbered, Hassan's appearance in London may signal that Iraqis will have a future far brighter than their past. Let's look at another one. This one was Forward News, an article entitled, Jordan Prince Said to Seek Iraqi Throne. And folks, you don't believe what I'm giving to you? Get on the internet for a couple hours and you can find a number of these things. They're already there. They're still there. Meeting in Paris. Quote from the article. Former Crown Prince Hassan of Jordan is not on the guest list of a high-level meeting between the main Iraqi opposition groups and American officials. Nevertheless, he's bound to loom large as participants grapple with the all-important question of who runs a post-Saddam Baghdad. Rumors are rife that the 55-year-old Hassan is angling to become king of Iraq. Although he claims he had come to London merely to express solidarity, Hassan's name has been bandied around for a series of United Nations postings since he was pushed aside from the Jordanian throne. I told you about that a moment ago, fueling speculation that he was looking for a job, if not a crown. It continues. An American expert on Iraq said some people might be thinking that a Hashemite ruler might be a good compromise between the Shiite and the Sunni Muslim factions, because the Hashemite family is believed to be descended from both Muhammad and his son-in-law Ali. Isn't that amazing? Oh, that's so important, Perry. Who's going to fix this Sunni-Shiite problem? This man comes from the Hashemite family. He's believed to be descended from both Prophet Muhammad and his son-in-law Ali, the latter a seminal figure in the Shiite faith. Some point to the close relationship between Hassan and Ahmad Chalabi. After Chalabi, you never knew this. Dan Rather didn't tell you this. Ahmad Chalabi was indicted in Jordan for bank fraud in the 1980s, and Hassan helped him get out of jail. In fact, Chalabi invited Hassan to London, several sources said. Can we look at another one? This is from The Economist, and it's entitled, A King for Iraq? Question mark. Columnist says this: one of the more lively moments in last week's get-together of a group of Iraqi dissidents was when Prince Hassan, Jordan's elder statesman, strode into their London meeting place. He then embraced a figure of King Faisal, his murdered cousin and the last king of Iraq. And in conversation, Jordan's Hashemite prince spoke of quote, assuming his ancestral responsibilities in the region, harking back to the First World War, when his great-grandfather was the British-appointed king of the Arabs and his great-uncle was the king of Iraq. Some family ties and somebody looking for a throne. One more. CNews gave this article entitled, Jordan's Prince Hassan Raises Concern He's Looking for a Kingdom in Iraq. Amman. Prince Hassan's hopes of visiting Iraq in the near future is sparking fresh speculation that the one-time heir to the Jordanian throne is a prince in search of a kingdom. Hassan told Al Arabiya satellite channel that he plans to visit Baghdad soon to try to mediate political disputes. Quote, try to facilitate negotiations among the different sects, meaning the Sunni and the Shiite, and of course the Kurds. An Iraqi political activist, get this, said the prince has been meeting in Jordan with some Iraqi tribal and religious leaders, trying to persuade them to support his involvement in resolving Iraq's political conflict. He said this: he does not tell them openly that he aspires to a leading role, like being king of Iraq, but this is what everybody feels when they meet him, said the activist who spoke with the AP on condition of anonymity. El Hassan seemed to aspire to a rulership role in the newly formed Iraqi government. Now, quickly, some are going to say, hey, Iraq has already completed their successful elections. After all, a new government is taking place right now. And some will ask me, well, where is Prince El Hassan now? He wasn't elected as their new leader, yet I can document how El Hassan has actually been the invisible hand, each step of the way, behind the scenes, personally overseeing and influencing the key players, and has helped design and define the very process of these elections in Iraq. He is merely waiting until the opportune moment and trusting those he has empowered now to empower him later. Hassan knows full well that these people cannot be forced or coerced after decades under Saddam Hussein is now over. And he is seeking to come to power through democratic means and processes. That's very important. Not only that, it's kind of unsafe to be in charge of anything in Iraq these days. A week goes by and they blow somebody else up, shoot somebody else in the streets. He's waiting for all the activity to be done. Now listen, real quick. In my upcoming book, I will include full documentation on this point. I simply don't have the time today. I must get into the Word and process this to you. Let's look, however, at just two interesting news reports. Am I boring you, by the way? Are you okay with this? Let's look at just two interesting news reports concerning this point in the post-Saddam time frame, Perry. One is, it was actually covered by Al Jazeera. It originated in Jordan Times. It was an article entitled, Iraqi Religious Leaders Call for Immediate Interim Government, and this is May 29th of 2003. Here's what it says. Iraqi religious leaders on Wednesday wrapped up a two-day conference here calling for an immediate interim government and free and direct elections. The gathering was organized by the New York-based World Conference on Religion and Peace. Where have you seen that before? His Royal Highness Prince Hassan, who hosted the conference in his palace, highlighted the importance of the message of hope that religious leaders can convey to the Iraqi people in these troubled times. Quote, saving lives and upholding the dignity of the Iraqi people is our sole aim in coming together, Prince Hassan said. And he said this, pledging common action to assure a just society in Iraq. That's going to become very important in a moment. A just society in Iraq. This is his message, justice. These religious leaders, this is El Hassan's words, these religious leaders demonstrate that religion can be a powerful force for peace and for affirming our common humanity. By the way, the leaders gathered at the conference unanimously elected Prince Hassan to represent them in all regional international venues regarding their shared commitment to collaborate on full reconstruction of Iraq. Let me give you one more, because a separate journalist named Helio Fred Garcia attended this very same gathering, and he wrote these telling remarks for his article in UU World, dated May and June of 2004, in an article entitled Harnessing Religions in Pursuit of Peace. Now, you look at that title, Harnessing Religions in Pursuit of Peace. Here's what the man said. On May 20, and it wasn't a prophecy preacher that said it. He said this. On May 27th and 28th, 2003, in Amman, Jordan, Religions for Peace hosted a historic summit of all of Iraq's religious communities. The summit was hosted by Prince Hassan, and it was the first time since Saddam Hussein took power in 1979 that the Iraqi Sunni and Shiite communities met in the same room. That's powerful, folks. The first time in 3 decades, Perry, that we get the leaders of these two groups together, and it's at El Hassan's palace.